We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Boxingego unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Showtime Stephen Espinoza speaks on Terence Crawford's demand for transparency in order to make the ERROL Spence fight a reality. That's what I want to talk about in this video. What up, fight world? It's your boy Ego, and I am back with some more boxing. Now, Showtime Stephen Espinoza recently did an interview where he talked about why he was baffled with Terence Crawford's request. Terence Crawford has, since, the fallout of the ERROL Spence fight, he's done interviews. He said on his Instagram live, so even though I was getting FUCK'd in the long run, I just, wanted a little transparency. I said, okay, if I'm going to bet on myself and I'm going to go against all the odds, then I want you know what I mean, a little transparency. I want to be able to write off on, things that's going to affect my check. Of course, I want to see the numbers add up to what they telling me. This is what Terence Crawford said. So Crawford himself has corroborated this story, and that's why I started by prefacing what Crawford said on his own Instagram live, where it looked like he was reading cue cards. So Crawford has basically done several interviews, and he stated that he feels this way because ERROL Spence is Al Heyman's guy, meaning PBC owned by Al Heyman, founded by Al Heyman. That's what they're going to look after, right? Stephen Espinoza responded to these things. He says the transparency request is absolutely baffling. He got that in black and white. And this is in an interview with Fight Hub TV. He said, I have seen the contract. So he makes it clear right off the bat that he got basic transparency, which I told you guys last year. This is my 2023 work. I told you that in 2022, right? Because it's part of the Ali Reform Act. But moving on, he says, I've seen the contract. It is there in black and white, which ERROL Spence also challenged Terence Crawford to post a contract because he too said it was in the contract. This was over some odd months ago, and Crawford still has not posted that contract. So again, it's looking bad for the Bud Buddies because they want me to believe what Crawford is saying, but he won't post the contract, right? And multiple people are saying other things, and he's in a way corroborating that he had concerns and transparency because he said that in his own interviews and Instagram lives. Stephen Espinoza continues, the reality is we collect the money, we do the accounting. You can't do accounting without being transparent. It depends on what transparency means. To most, it means I know what the revenues are, I know what the expenses are, I know what the deductions are, and that's all out in the open. That's never been an issue on this fight or any other fight we've been involved with. Here is where it gets a little more complicated. I get the right to approve expenses. First of all, I have a problem with that because what's going to happen when I tell you, okay, this is what TV production costs, and Crawford, you say, no, I think it should be cheaper. So wait a minute, now I can't produce it? We've been doing this for quite a while. I know what it costs. We're not going to go into a promotion and have the risk of someone saying to us 2 weeks out, no, I don't like that contract, I am not going to sign it, or go into it and say we're waiting on a fighter's signature and I don't know when he's going to get around to viewing this expense and signing it. It is just not a realistic way to do business. You have got to have a certain level of trust. Now, that speaks volumes from Stephen Espinoza. You have got to have a certain level of trust. And I've been saying the same thing, and I completely concur. How, in what world does Terence Crawford think he clearly is the B-side? That goes without saying. In what world does he believe that he can call the shots? You're saying that Al Heyman, that's his guy. ERROL Spence is his guy. He has seniority, yada, yada, yada. So in what world does he feel he has this leverage to call the shots as the B-side? This is stuff you've never seen before. It's like there's clear A sides and B sides in majority of the cases. If Floyd Mayweather is fighting against Berto's the B side. Doesn't matter if you like him, doesn't matter who you want to win, he's the B side, right? Ricky Hatton to Floyd was the B side. Floyd, when he fought Oscar De La Hoya, Floyd was the B side, right? Very easy to work this out. Caleb Plant fights Canelo Alvarez. He's the B side. Very easy. So again, B side Bud, in what world does he feel he has this leverage? And this is, I predicted all these things. I predicted this in Tupacalypse. And for once I was down with, it felt good in the hood being around him. And for the first time, everybody let go. And the streets was death row. I predicted this. This was easy to see. Crawford, the way he's been branded for several years, has not all the way panned out. He doesn't have the leverage. He's a great fighter, but he thinks he has the leverage, and then that's what's creating these fiascos. But I agree with Stephen Espinoza saying you have got to have a certain level of trust. If you're going to do business with somebody, why would you even want to do business if Crawford, out his own words, and I started this video by reading what Crawford said, he says, even though I know I was getting FUCK'd, so I was getting ucked. He also said that Al Heyman, is going to look out for Errol Spence. So if you have this negative view of PBC and they're out to get you, why would you even want to work with them if you think they're going to backstab you no matter what? And you think that the money's going to be funny, and you think the money, they're going to play you and hide secret monies and stuff like that. Why would you even want to do business with someone like that? So now you can see the unrealistic attitude which has culminated and created this problem, why the fans have not currently had an announcement for Errol Spence and Terence Crawford. Again, you guys answer in the comment section, why on earth would you even want to do business if you think the people are like two-bit hustlers and no good, dirty, rotten scoundrels? You know what I mean? So I agree with Espinoza. You have got to have a certain level of trust. Let's keep going. Espinoza says, there are certain protections, disclosures you can do up front, but the reality is the ability to approve everything along the way. There's no one who is ever going to do that. The reality is there's no way people are going to go into it and start spending a bunch of money and then say, let's say 2 weeks out, somebody gets a bug up their butt about an expense and says, you know what? I don't want you to spend any more money on marketing. Who's going to go into a deal where you're at someone else's mercy until the very last second? I mean, these are super, super valid points by Stephen Espinoza. The reality is, if you're asking to approve expenses, the question is, what if you don't approve them? What happens? We saw this, and a great example was Mayweather-Pacquiao. I remember so well. He says it was a weird situation where tickets weren't released until 10 days before the week of. Why was that? Because the parties had mutual approval and they reached an impasse and everybody was screwed. This is a cautionary tale. So it's great to say, okay, mutual approval, but what happens if you don't approve? What are the repercussions there and how would it be resolved? If your position is no, it has to be mutual approval and you have the ability to blow it up at any point up until the fight night. You're not going to get a lot of people taking that deal because you'll end up with something like Mayweather-Pacquiao, but worse. Boom. Now, to me, Stephen Espinoza came with the ether. He came with the ether. All of the stuff he was saying was absolutely valid. I mean, you would be at the bequest and mercy of somebody literally up until fight night. Beyond that, we're talking about a guy in Terence Crawford who spells witch incorrectly. He spells it like witch on a broom. So take that for what it's worth. You don't have the background of TV production and running a broadcast. You can't even spell a basic word, right? So how are you going to read through the legalese of certain contracts and know what to point out? I mean, this is literally, this is why certain positions exist. Like, let's say a hospital. Hospitals have triages, they have doctors, they have RNs and nurse practitioners, they have security. Like, the security doesn't know how to perform open heart surgery, most likely. Whoever's working at the security desk, because they probably wouldn't be security if they had passed all the necessary courses to perform the surgery, you know? So the security guard or even the clerical people, when you get checked into the ER or whatever, they probably don't know all the steps to effectively and properly deliver a baby. You know what I mean? And that's why you have different positions. So it's no different to a fighter. Crawford has no history of being this fighter and studying the game of business to the point where he's put on major shows or major productions. So even the comparison was a little bit flawed from Steven Espinoza in terms of, well, he's really just talking about Mayweather Pacquiao, but that's not even a good comparison because Errol Spence and Crawford is a great fight for hardcore boxing fans, but it's nowhere near the magnitude of a particular fight with Pacquiao and Mayweather. So that's not even all the way apples and oranges, or apples and apples, I guess you could say, right? Because Gervonta Davis and Ryan Garcia could very well, especially with all the BS and the fallout of the fight and how long people have been waiting and wanting to see the fight, Gervonta Davis versus Ryan Garcia really could outdo this and trump this particular fight. That's a strong reality. Chris Crawford's 35, Errol's 33. You got Gervonta, he's probably like 30, 28, whatever age he is. Ryan Garcia, 24, 25, whatever age he is, you know, and they have completely different demographics. So we can't even really compare Spence Crawford to Mayweather Pacquiao. Great fight. This generation's Mayweather Pacquiao in terms of how much people want to see it. But in terms of the glamour and glitz and commercials appeal, that's not the same because Pacquiao and Mayweather independently both sold over 1 million without fighting each other previous to them fighting each other. They had certain pay-per-views where they sold a close to or over 1 million pay-per-view buys with another person. Errol Spence nor Terence Crawford, neither one of them, especially not Crawford, have sold numbers like that. So they're not considered the same like commercial successes and blockbuster anomalies that you had with Mayweather and Pacquiao. So completely different circumstance. Why would Crawford, as I've been saying, and now I'm saying it again in this Unpack video, why would Crawford be granted that type of power? You're the B side. Why would you get the power to approve all this stuff? And again, you don't even have a background in knowing. So you're going to tell Steven Espinoza you're spending too much on TV production or promotion, and you've never promoted a fight of this magnitude. If Crawford knew all these things and had this background, then how come his fights have never done 400,000 pay-per-views or more? I mean, simple questions. This is simple math for everybody to understand. If Crawford had a background in putting on big promotions, how come his last fight with David Avanesian went double wood? You know, so how are you going to be the one to say to Showtime, who's had Mike Tyson? They were part of Mike Tyson and Lennox Lewis. They were part of Conor McGregor and Floyd. They were the ones that hosted Mayweather and Pacquiao. That was a joint with HBO. So they've been in all of other Floyd fights that he did, Canelo's and all this other stuff, and Canelo Caleb. So they have a history, Wilder Fury. They have a history of running the biggest shows. Crawford doesn't. So I don't care what the Bud Buddies are saying. You can't work yourself out of this hole. Steven Espinoza is making rational, sound, logical points by saying what he is saying. Point blank, period. It is out of the question for Crawford to think that just listen to what he said. He said Al Heyman owes it to Errol Spence because Errol's his guy. So how are you coming in as a third party who's never worked with this company before and then demanding this, that, and the third and calling the shots and then sounding skeptical? And we can go a bit deeper. Why, when it's you have a Mexican American in Steven Espinoza and a black man in Al Heyman, how come when it's them, you have all these questions and you need this additional transparency, but the whole 10 years you were with Top Rank, you had a Jewish promoter in Bob Arum and then you have Carl Moretti and all these other guys, Todd DeBuff, and all these Caucasian promoters with Top Rank, and you didn't call for none of this other stuff. Now you think you're gonna go to a company that you have no history with, and then they're gonna offer you the ability to do this, which Steven Espinoza explained the problem with it. The problem could be if you have the ability to veto and approve and deny certain things, then tickets could be on sale, and then you could say, hey, guess what? The fight is off unless you remove this particular expense, or, you know, no more money can be spent towards this. And then now you have a major problem that has to be resolved last minute. Who wants to deal with that potential migraine or headache? You know what I mean? It just doesn't make any sense. And nobody reasonable is going to accept that. And Crawford really doesn't have anything to go anywhere to go. Sean Porter recently said this, that Crawford will have to budge in order for this fight to happen, most likely. So we'll see how it plays out. But I wanted you guys to hear what Steven Espinoza said. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. If I didn't do a good job or you still have other questions, let me know in the comment section. I'm out. Introducing Super Thanks. Right here on the official Boxingego YouTube. Super Thanks allows you, the viewers, to show a little bit of extra gratitude, which enables me as a full-time content creator to push out the content you need in the world of boxing. Underneath all the videos, you will see a heart with the $sign in it. You can enter any amount that you find suitable as a super thanks. A brand new, interactive, and colorful way to get your comments highlighted and noticed by not only myself, but other people on the YouTube platform. Super thanks, a unique and cool way to show and applaud us full-time content creators. Hopefully you guys enjoy the content. Super thanks. The future is now. The Hibernation 5s by Kenichi Bear. Hybrid gaming and lifestyle headphones. Out of the box, you can connect to any console or PC. Bluetooth ready with a low latency USB adapter, color RGB, and extreme bass mode. The Hibernation 5s adjust to you. Whether you need a gaming, travel, gym, or lifestyle headphones, the Hibernations got you covered. The new Hibernation 5s, link in the description. Customize the way you hear the world. Welcome to the nation. Are you tired of your YouTube videos not getting any views? Well, consider TubeBuddy. I've used TubeBuddy for years to scale up my YouTube channel. Now we're sitting over 200,000 subscribers. TubeBuddy is a browser extension that offers a ton of built-in productivity and time-saving services to take your channel to the next level. Use my link in the description to get started with TubeBuddy and level up your channel faster. We working.